Milan Vaishnav, the fact that Trump has got votes from across different ethnic groups is another important factor in this election. So it's not just the white women, which in itself is fascinating in an election where abortion was such a big issue, but not just the white women. Of course, most African Americans have voted for Kamala Harris, but data shows that this time Trump, his support among Black American men went up. Not the women, but more African American men voted for him. And Latino men, again, a majority of them, more than 50%, I think it's around 54%, also voted for Trump. It's interesting that, and this comes after that controversy, if you remember, at Madison Square Garden, where a comedian who was speaking in his support called Puerto Rico a pile of garbage, and everyone thought that, well, maybe this is going to hurt those Latinos who support him, but it hasn't. What explains this phenomenon?
I mean, I think I should first say that the recriminations have already started within the Democratic Party in terms of what went wrong, right? So people saying, shouldn't Biden have withdrawn earlier? Shouldn't have Harris pick Josh Shapiro, the very charismatic, popular governor of the state of Pennsylvania, the electorally critical state of Pennsylvania? Shouldn't Harris have found a way to maybe divorce herself or create separation between her and the president when it comes to Gaza? These are all good questions, and I think we'll hear many answers to them and many more questions. But they're kind of strike me as besides the point, right? Because the shift was so broad and so wide towards Harris that these micro explanations really don't get us very far, right? Just to pick up, Nidhi, on your point, if you look at the demographic data we have from the exit polls, there are only two demographic groups which clearly voted more for Harris than they did for Biden in 2020. That was people above the age of 65 and white college-educated women, right? Virtually everybody else, white, non-college educated women, men, people of different racial, ethnic minorities, Asians, Blacks, Hispanics, young people, you name it, the swing was in the other direction, right? You started by asking, so why, right? I mean, I think there's sort of three big explanations.
Milan, sorry, Prannoy here. Sorry, just to interrupt, before you go into that, I want to show some of the excellent work you've done. I listened to that long lecture you and your team did a presentation about a week ago on Indian Americans. You've done a survey, the Carnegie Foundation, along with others, have done this survey. I'll just take three graphs from it, slightly simplified from your graphs, so please forgive me if they are not absolutely accurate. But Indian Americans are turning more and more Republican. In 2020 there were 22% support for Trump. Now it's 32% in just 4 years. Now moving on to so that is quite a big increase in just. Now women, Indian women voted more for Harris than men. Look at Indian men, 39% supported Trump. Indian women, 22%, 17% lower. So Indian women were more pro-Harris. And finally, these are just summarizing of many of your wonderful graphs. This is very interesting. Indians born in America had a much higher support, were much more pro-Trump than Indians born outside and naturalized. Indian men, sorry, yeah. These are all men. Indian men born in America, 49% supported Trump. Born outside and then naturalized into American citizens, 28% supported Trump. Big difference. Why is that?
I just want to put what you said, Prannoy, just in context. So Indian American amongst the most loyal constituents of the Democratic Party for many election cycles.
Right.
If you go back to 2020, they broke for the Democrats by a margin of 70-20. 4 years on in 2024, we estimate 70-20 has become 60-30. So again, overwhelming support for the Democrats, but there's been a tightening, right?
Yes, yes.
Almost the entirety of that shift rightward can be attributed to men, specifically men under the age of 40, principally US born men, right? You see very little shift amongst older men. almost no shift among women of any age group, right? Below 40, above 40, it doesn't make any difference. The question is what's going on with those men. Now, this is not unique to Indian Americans. We see this across ethnic groups. We picked it up in surveys of men. We've seen it in surveys of Blacks and Latinos. And I think there's three things going on which are worthy of further exploration. The first is a feeling of alienation, that we don't think the American dream is attainable anymore, that because of inflation, because of the impediments to social mobility, we can't provide for our families anymore, and there's a ceiling. And so therefore, we're disenchanted with the status quo, right? The second is, and I don't think we can rule this out, is some feeling of discomfort with having a female commander-in-chief, right? It's very hard to pick that up in surveys, but qualitatively, we definitely see some of that. And last but not least, and I don't think this has been talked about enough, is younger men in America are living in a kind of information silo, right? The kind of information they're getting is coming from podcasts run by largely conservative men targeting them. People like Elon Musk, Andrew Tate, other kind of conservative icons have become icons for this group. And so they're not necessarily getting their news from NPR, the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, so on and so forth, right? So I think this too is having an impact on Indian American men.